What is thymosin alpha-1 used for? This question came through and I really appreciate the opportunity to go deeper into thymosin alpha-1 because thymosin alpha-1, as we talk about it in this video, I'm going to deconstruct the fact that it's not something where aggressive and more is needed when you have any kind of immune system attack. And actually, thymosin alpha-1, how it can rewrite the entire operating system and software for the immune system to create more immune intelligence, more resilience. We'll talk about what some of the clinical studies show. This has been used on thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of human control trials. And I'll also talk about the fact that creating the signal might be the most important thing that you can do when it comes to having a healthy immune system, and why the gut and the immune system are so engaged when it comes to this process called immune resilience. So I'm Regan Archibald, founder of Ageless Future. For those of you who wonder, is my immune system compromised? Is there something that I need to do to go deeper? My team, I've got health ascension specialists. All you need to do is go to agelessfuture.com, set up a discovery session with one of my experts there, and then they will help you get the right labs ran through our medical team, where you can meet with medical providers who oversee everything that's going on in your health. We'll test your gut. We'll do a test called the biome burden that shows how well the immune system is actually functioning. So let's dive in. Thymosin alpha-1. It's a very exciting peptide, and it's been around for 50 years almost. It's pushing up to that 50-year anniversary where it was discovered by Dr. Goldstein out of the George Washington University, and he found that the bovine thymus gland produced all these different thymulin-like peptides. And he landed on thymosin alpha-1 as being one of the most superior peptides when it comes to regulating the modulation of both the innate and adaptive immune response in the body. And so thymosin alpha-1, one of the studies that was looked at, in 1985, this was interesting because they wanted to see, okay, now that we've been doing some studies on thymosin alpha-1, how does it work and how do we use it? And these are some of the same questions we're still asking today. So hopefully this video will help give you some insights on it. And if you've used thymosin alpha-1, maybe you're in one of those 35 to 37 countries where it is approved and used frequently. The brand name is Zadadazin. I apologize if the pronunciation on that is not correct, but it's Zadacin, if you want to look that one up. But here's the study. It was called a randomized trial to evaluate the immunorestorative properties of thymosin alpha-1 in patients with lung cancer. Done in 1985, like I mentioned, in the United States. And what they found is that patients who are on chemotherapy for their lung cancer were separated into two groups. One was a placebo, one was a thymosin alpha-1. And as they looked at, this was a phase 2 style randomized cohort. It was peer-reviewed and published. And what they found is that thymosin alpha-1 showed a schedule-dependent immunorestorative effect with gradual improvements in lymphocyte counts and immune function over the treatment course rather than immediate changes, supporting its role as an adjunct immunorestorative and immune re-education signal layered into existing therapies, not a rapid standalone fix. And so this is what I love about peptides. They're signals. They're just gently reminding the body how to function. Just like you turn light switches off in your house, and it's really hard to navigate where you're at. You may bump into walls and furniture, but when you turn those light switches on, now you have a clear pathway. That's exactly what thymosin alpha-1 does to the immune system. It just turns on the light so now you can function. Your cells can perform the way they need to perform. Specifically, your white blood cells, your lymphocytes, your neutrophils, your monocytes, your eosinophils, all these things can be modulated or balanced out with thymosin alpha-1. Now, the research is pretty interesting because thymosin alpha-1, once again, it's not a silver bullet. This is not where researchers are saying like, hey, I think this could outperform some of the antiviral treatments or the chemotherapeutic agents. But what it does is when you use it as an adjunct therapy, that's where we see it shine, because one of the cohorts they did was on groups of people in hospitals over 100 patients who had sepsis. Sepsis is deadly. It's life-threatening. Your organs start to shut down. It's when you have a bacterial infection all throughout your body. Very dangerous condition. They found that the patients in the hospitals with sepsis who were given Thymosin Alpha-1, they checked out of the hospital 2 days earlier than patients who didn't have it. They were able to get off their ventilators and other interventions far sooner than patients who didn't have Thymosin Alpha-1. They had better biometrics, better recovery scores. Everything was improved in the patients that had Thymosin Alpha-1. It was not a miracle. It's not a silver bullet. And so I look at this and I say, well, for those of us who don't even want to ever end up in the hospital, well, I don't want to get close to any infections like that. How can I protect my immune system? And this is where Thymosin Alpha-1 is very interesting. Now, in the United States, currently it's not FDA approved for any conditions. However, it did have orphan drug status, which that expired a couple of years ago. So Thymosin Alpha-1, we do need to have a resurgence of this beautiful peptide. And where can you get it? Well, if you're in other countries, make sure you're working with a licensed medical provider there. You may have an easier time. In the United States, getting a research use only peptide, that can be dangerous. And so you want to make sure you're working with licensed pharmacy, 503A, 503B, prescriptive use only, so that you get the real Thymosin Alpha-1 structure, 28 amino acids that are folded and the covalent bonding. The acetyl groups are going to give you that activation that the research shows can be very beneficial. So what Thymosin Alpha-1 does, it's more of an immune re-education, so it's there for you when the system loses its way. When the lights turn off, you don't know what pathway to take without stubbing your toe on something. You turn on the lights, you know exactly what pathway to go. Think of this as signaling the immune system back to school, not just putting it into battle and attack mode. And I think in our modern medicine, especially medicine 2.0, we've been really good at isolating the threat and then dropping a bomb on that threat. And that could be in the form of some kind of antiparasitic drug like Flagyl, some kind of yeast treatment like fluconazole, or some kind of antibiotic like Augmentin. We throw these things at it and it destroys everything in its sight, but it also leaves your body vulnerable for future infections. And this is where the gut has become such a powerful part of the immune system. In fact, what the research shows is 70% of the immune intelligence or the immune function is regulated through this digestive system. So it's the bacteria in your gut are informing the white blood cells and the health of your overall immune function. So looking at Thymosin Alpha-1 is going upstream. It works on the thymus gland, which then informs the brain so that you have better selectivity when it comes to pathogens that may not be supportive. Thymosin Alpha-1 regulates this unique pathway called Th1, Th2, and Th17. Now, these T regulatory cells help your body from bouncing into an autoimmune disease. And this is where Thymosin Alpha-1 can be used as an adjunct therapy in like MS, lupus, Crohn's disease, MS, of any kind of neurodegenerative disease. But the interesting thing about it is it doesn't override your body. It just gently raises up your white blood cells. It helps gently bring up your lymphocytes if they're low, or bring down the neutrophils if they're too high. So think of it as the signaling pathway. One of the things that it also is very helpful with is the immune fatigue. So death by 1,000 cuts. If you've had long COVID, you know exactly what I'm talking about, where your energy just never seems to recover. You have maybe 5 or 6 good hours out of the day, if that, but then you just notice you need naps. You're tired all the time. At night, you could sleep, 9, 10, 11 hours and still not feel recovered. And one of the things that happens is as your white blood cell count gets low, as your immune system gets downregulated, your body doesn't have the energy generation because your cells go into what's called a cell danger response, where the mitochondria are producing more energy outside of the cell instead of in that cell itself. So Thymosin Alpha-1 used with like SS31 that just got FDA approval September of 2025 for Barth syndrome, which is a mitochondrial imbalance. What that can do is SS31 can repair that conduits, specifically through the cardiolipin protein, so you get better energy production. Thymosin Alpha-1 will help remodulate the immune function so that you can get back on your feet. So if you're like me and you're somebody who wants to extend their life and their health as far and long as possible because you have so many great things to look forward to, then Thymosin Alpha-1 may be important for you. And if you want to go deeper and learn even more, go to agelessfuture.com, meet with one of our health ascension specialists, and then set up a time to meet with one of our talented medical team, no matter where you're at in the United States or worldwide, and have a longevity coaching session. I'm Regan Archibald. See you on the next video.